everyone, and welcome back to Sun and Real Estate Podcast. Today, I am joined by Tiffany Bean, Houston Realtor and partner at White Oak Realty Group at Compass. Tiffany has completed more than 350 real estate transactions and has built, much of her business through repeat clients and referrals. Before entering real estate, she owned two clothing boutiques. I know that, and designed her own fashion line, which is fantastic. And experience that now shapes how she approaches home staging, presentation, marketing, and all that. Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I was excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you. I'm really excited. Awesome, Tiffany. So, first of all, I think your journey is really interesting. I think a lot of listeners would love to hear about from fashion to real estate. Before real estate, you spent many years in fashion design and boutique ownership. What led you from that world into Houston real estate? Let us know about it.
It was kind of just an accident. So I was in merchandising to begin with. So I feel like my first career was merchandising for corporate
Mhm.
stores. Like Pier One was the one I was with, and so I had Southern California. So my job, I had 60 stores, and I was
Mhm.
responsible for opening any new stores that came on board and remodeling all those 60 stores. And then when we weren't remodeling, I was teaching the managers how to stage their store to get more sales. So we would look through their reports and be like, this is your highest grossing category. We need to make it front and center. And like, I'll never forget Alan, who was my best man at my wedding, and my best friend. His store was the entrance to a mall. And so they had always told him to merchandise it the same way as all the other stores. But I was like, no, like, you're the entrance to a mall. All these people are going through your store to get to work. They could be buying little tiny things all the time. So we completely reconfigured his store, and his sales went through the roof because now we were
Mhm.
selling to every employee in the mall that was going through his store to get to work
Awesome.
to and from every day. So that really comes in handy right now with real estate and staging. But I was doing that. My dad got sick. He developed a brain tumor, and so I had to quit and move to New Mexico to help my mom take care of my dad. And that just so happened, that's how I got into fashion. So my mom was managing a little clothing boutique there. The owner lived outside of town. And so when my dad got sick, he got paralyzed really quick. So 6 days after we found the tumor, he was completely paralyzed. So my mom had to quit working and take care of my dad full time. And that left her job open. And so when I moved there to try to help take care and pay bills, help them cover expenses, was like, okay, well, I guess I'm taking that job because it's a tiny little town, Ruidoso, New Mexico. There's not a lot of jobs. So that's how I ended up in fashion. So that I stayed there for 4 years, and then we all ended up moving to Portland from New Mexico to Portland. And after having worked for Anne, and she taught me so much, she was one of the greatest mentors ever. That's what led me to think, okay, well, I can do this. I can open my own boutique in Portland. And so we did. So we opened a boutique in Portland, and then that led to opening a second boutique, and then that led to designing my own clothing line and really starting a boutique alliance within Portland. So it was really fun to get all the other small business owners. We were just a huge group of women that would go have dinners once a month and book club and throw fashion shows together to highlight all of our
Awesome.
differences. And so it was amazing and wonderful and just a fun time of my life. And then I turned 40 and decided I wanted to move to Texas. And so I'm from Texas, and I missed the sunshine, and I was really tired of the rain. And so we just packed up and moved to Texas. So I closed the boutique, sold everything, and came here. And I think in my mind, I thought I would continue designing clothes, but production was in LA and Portland, and getting there from Houston was a nightmare. And I had my daughters were 2 and 6 at the time.
Mhm.
And that's right, yeah, 2 and 6. And it was too far to fly. I couldn't get home in the same day. And so when we had been looking at homes, our realtor Will had mentioned, like, you'd be a great real estate agent. And I was like, oh, thanks. I don't really like realtors. But after about 6 months of struggling to balance the flying and the kids, and am I going to break into the Houston fashion scene? And that's a whole nother ball game. And it's such an undertaking, and I don't really want to. So I called him and ended up getting into real estate. So I joined the team he was on and I stayed there for 5 years. And then eventually him and I left and we started White Oak together. So he's my business partner now. So it's been
Awesome.
really fun journey. And then the staging from the merchandising really comes in handy now because I can really help sellers stage their home
Exactly.
to sell quicker. And I think I come to it from a place of nobody lives like this. This is not, I'm not trying to say your house is ugly. I just know how to set it up to sell. So people really take it well from me, where I think you can get easily offended when somebody's like, we need to rearrange all the furniture in your house. But I'm kind of coming to it. I just want to get your home sold as fast as possible for the most money as possible. So that's kind of
Exactly. What an incredible and fantastic journey you have had, Tiffany, from real estate, from
yeah.
fashion to real estate. I think it was pretty interesting. And people need to listen to you because you've been in fashion. I think you have the keen eye for the details that would kind of affect and impact people's emotions. Because at the end of the day, emotions are ruling the people, particularly buyers. They can't really take that factor off the list, but I think you're really doing that perfectly, and that's why it's helping. And that's one of the reasons you're growing very well, which I really love that.
I
Cool.
think so. That's what I get told all the time that I'm really picky with my sellers and they really appreciate it because their homes do sell. So we don't, especially right now, Houston is in a really, really tough market, the toughest market I've ever seen. And I've talked to realtors who've been doing this
It
20,
is.
30 years, and they say it's one of the toughest they've ever been in. So it really does require crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's and not missing a single opportunity. So we really think
Exactly.
of, from start to finish with my clients, I'm really trying to help them see the big picture and what is every possible chance we can take to get your home sold. Let's do it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask this question, how design helps you to sellers, but I think you already answered that question. So fantastic. Awesome. Now let's talk about building a referral-driven business. A large percentage of your business is coming from past clients and referral. That means that you're really doing a great job in having that, controlling that relationship and keeping it and helping your clients. So what do you do differently during the transaction that makes people want to recommend you to everyone?
Well, so when I began, I was a buyer's agent. For my first 5 years, I only worked with buyers. And that is a very different type of
Exactly.
transaction than sellers. I like it so much more. When selling a home, it's not generally as happy, positive experience.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's a divorce or a death or financial reasons you've got to sell. And oftentimes you're selling for less than you want to. Most, like right now, everyone is selling for less than they want to because our market
Yeah.
Houston is oversaturated with inventory and we have too many homes for sale. And so markets ebb and flow. It's a constant change, but you
Mhm.
have to move when the market does. So currently,
Exactly.
it doesn't matter what you want to list your home for. We have to look and see what all your neighbors are selling for and probably get under them and look better than them to get your home sold. So that is the biggest I think the biggest takeaway that I got from being a buyer's agent is that I was used to kind of being people's mom. I was very
Yeah.
often a first time buyer's agent. And so I worked with people and was explaining things from start to finish. And I really come to this from a place of my first home transaction, very little was explained to me. We bought a home way more than we should have. We both had to get second jobs to pay the mortgage. And I don't ever want to put anybody in that position. So I really come to it from a place of, let me educate you on what all the options are, and then you guys make the best decision for yourself, and then I'll follow your lead and help guide you there. But I really hold people's hand through the whole transaction. And I think that's really carried over well now that I do listings,
Mhm.
in that I explain everything thoroughly. I check in all the time.
Mhm.
The main reason we left the big team that we were on was so that we could work with less clients and spend more time with them and do a better job because we just
Mhm.
hated that we were being pushed to do so many transactions a year. We didn't feel like we could give the level of service we wanted to. And so that's
Exactly.
our biggest thing is just really being able to this is such a stressful process. And I moved 2 years ago. I bought a home in my same neighborhood. So I just moved down the street, but we wanted a swimming
Congratulations.
pool and we love our neighborhood. So that I remember telling Jackie, my teammate that I work so closely with, I was like, gosh, we have to remember how awful and stressful it is to sell and buy a house and make sure that
Mhm.
we're there for our clients through every step of that.
Exactly.
It
Exactly. And
really wrecks you.
Yeah, like it is the biggest financial decision ever that anybody takes. Like they're paying a lot of money, like when they're selling, they gotta be sure. It is really stressful. And you said it very well. Like I think this is a really an absolutely great key point that we have mentioned. When you understand people are in stress and they are really anxious about doing this, you understand how they are behaving, why they are behaving in a way that they are behaving, and then you can actually help them. So I
Yeah,
love
right
that.
now there's so much talk in the real estate industry about AI and is AI going to take away realtors? And I think it's so interesting because very little of my job is easy. The hard parts of my job are the tough conversations that I have with the sellers, the buyers, the other agent involved, and the lender and title companies involved. So the negotiating, the stuff that AI really can't take over. It's that being that therapist and helping people. And I
Exactly.
am working with one of my sellers right now, a buyer loved their home and is unrepresented. And so the amount of stress that I see this young man have is crazy because he doesn't have an agent helping guide him. He's just asking questions on his computer and it's leaving him very stressed out. And I just want to shake him and be like, it's okay. You're okay. Like you're doing great and we're almost done and you got
Yeah,
this. But I don't think a computer is ever going to be able to replicate that type
exactly.
of handholding
No,
and
look, that I think
perspective.
the best case scenario, a computer or any AI would be to bring you the leads. You are the one that needs to kind of connect with them, talk to them, and go through that and close those leads. That's totally different. Cool,
Yes.
awesome. Let's talk about the Houston market because you mentioned it. You work across Houston, Spring, like Woodlands, the Heights, Northwest Houston, and all of that. How different are the buyer sellers and the market condition across these communities?
They vary widely. So the Woodlands is almost always, we call it the bubble because it's almost always insulated from whatever's happening in the world. So it, it's this beautifully man-made town. So if you don't know the Woodlands, it's all behind a veil of trees. So when you drive through it, it's gorgeous and you look like you're in the woods, but you have everything you could need. There's designer shopping malls and a million restaurants and
Wow.
there's hiking trails all throughout the woods. So it's just beautiful and very functional place to live. It is very traffic heavy, but it ends up
Mhm.
on top 10 places to live in America every year, tons of lists. So it is just a constant. When we get a listing there, it sells fast. When you have a buyer looking there, you have to act fast because homes move quickly there. It is its own little entity like that, though. The rest
Mhm.
of the Houston area is pretty oversaturated with inventory. We have more builders here than anywhere I've ever lived, and I've lived in a whole lot of states. The house I'm currently living in is my 55th house that I've owned, so or lived in.
Wow.
So over since I was a child, we've moved so much. So I've lived all over the place, and I've never been anywhere where I see builders just create homes as fast as they do here. So
Mhm.
that constant supply of new homes is tough for sellers because when you're trying to sell a resale home, a home that you've already lived in, and you can go to a builder and they're going to offer incentives, they're going to pay all the closing costs, they're, doing all these great things.
Exactly.
It's very hard to compete with. So that makes the Houston market very trying. And right now we have more inventory than there has been since they started tracking inventory in Houston in the 90s. So we are just watching the inventory graph go up and up and up, and it's exhausting for sellers because that just, normally when you run comps, you get 3 to 6 in the neighborhood for sale. Right now, we're getting 15 to 25 in the neighborhood for sale.
Wow.
So it's just, there's lots of competition. It's very hard to sell a house right now.
Yeah, yeah.
It
So it's
takes a
definitely a
long
buyer's
time.
market. Definitely a
Definitely
buyer's
a
market.
buyer's market in Houston.
I love that. You said it very well. Cool. Now let's talk about the White Oak Realty Group and growing that. What was the vision behind building White Oak Realty Group, and how do you actually grow a team without losing the personal experience that created the reputation?
Well, so trial and error. The real, like I said, we really started White Oak because we wanted to slow down. We were my last year at the Keller Williams team, I
Mhm.
did 74 transactions that year, 74 contracts on my own. That's by myself, and that's a lot for one person to do on their
It
own.
is.
I was sick the whole year, just stressed out, just, constantly feeling bad. So I was like, I can't continue this pace. I want to have more time in my life and I want to have more time with my clients. I want to make sure at the end of the deal, they knew what was happening through the whole process. So
Exactly.
White Oak was really for us to take a step back, slow down a little bit, and be able to give the service that we both wanted for our clients. So Will and I,
Mhm.
um, and Jackie really, spend a lot of time making sure everybody understands what's happening. So as we've grown it, we have tried to add a few people, and it's not worked out because they didn't have that same philosophy of us. So we're really, really very focused on making sure that everybody leaves, even though we can't control every transaction. There's so many parties involved. You never know if the buyer or the seller is crazy, and that can make the whole deal hard. But we want to try to support you through whatever it is we're going through. And so we have hired a few agents and then realized this is not a fit. We just don't have the same take on things, and we've
Yeah.
parted and gone our separate ways. We do have Aaron has joined us. He's been with us over a year now, and he has that same mentality of like, let's just help everybody do the best we can and let's have fun doing it. And so it's been a real joy to work with him. And then we partner, I do a lot of referral networking calls around the country. Compass is really amazing at this of just connecting realtors. So finding people you have things in common with. So I go on a yoga retreat every year with other realtors with Compass from around the United States, and we meet up in another country and do yoga for a week. And it's so great because you can relax, but also talk shop at dinner. And so it's really wonderful for me. But I love that I get to unite with realtors around the nation and share what I've learned and learn from them. And it's really developed into a wonderful network of agents who just want to be the best they can be and want to help others be the best they can be. I'm on a coaching call this Friday with a group to just share the latest things I've figured out and how they're making things easier for me. And I love that. That's my
Awesome.
favorite part is getting to help others
Awesome.
get successful as well.
Awesome. You said it very well. Like, I think having this community, talking with people, talking and being in touch with all of these real estate agents, I think that will really helps the White Oak Realty Group to grow. And again, the fact that you wanted to slow down and really help people, I think that's something that a lot of agents actually needs to listen to. Cool.
It's not normal. Most people want to get more business, and I'm very fortunate to have started on such a busy team, and so I developed a black book of clients very early on that do continue to refer me. But I love getting to help other agents kind of learn how
Exactly.
to build your business to the point where then it's just this machine that keeps feeding you, and you can enjoy your time with your clients and off work. You're not having to constantly be working on the business. You can just enjoy it.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. Cool. Now let's talk about the future because we have mentioned all of that. More buyers and sellers right now are beginning their search by asking AI who they should hire. Like, who are the best agents that are in this area? How do you think that will change the way agents build trust and get discovered? Because I hear this a lot from agents. Hey, I asked ChatGPT who's the work with. They recommend this person and all of that. So, what is your take on that?
Yeah, I feel like there's emerging two very different takes on it. One is to embrace AI and use it for everything possible, and that is not me. I don't believe that we should just become AI robot people. The second is to lean more into your authenticity and use that as your platform to come from, and use AI as your tool to help you achieve things. And that's where I'm at. So
Mhm.
I I just was speaking to another agent. Another agent called me yesterday morning and asked me to look at a listing of a friend of hers parents that's been on the market for 125 days in Houston, and why hasn't it sold? And so she was like, could you just take a look? I've been on several calls with you. I know you know what you're doing. And so I did. So I looked at the listing and I realized all the photos were so heavily AI doctored that you couldn't really even tell what the house really looked like. So it
Exactly.
in my opinion, it was a negative for the house because the first photo had such AI doctored plants that when you saw the real house, you were like, oh, so that's what the plants really look like. Like it would take you $20,000 and probably 10 or 20 years to grow plants to look like that. Like, not somebody
Exactly.
buying this house can afford to do that right away. So it's going from, it's one thing to virtually stage a home with AI and show people what their furniture would look at, but it's another thing to stage a home with AI with stuff that's so aspirational, nobody can afford to do that. So I think, in my opinion, I really draw back from using the AI to just use it for the bare minimum of things that can, like virtually staging a home, absolutely, but changing the complete look of a home, I don't think that's
Exactly.
we should go with it. And I
Exactly.
know there's lots of people who are like, well, you can get AI to just create your social media for you. You don't even have to do it. And I don't like that. I think that I want to see real people. I don't want to just be on Instagram and see robots talking to me. And I hate it when I can tell they are. So we have had people approach us. The funniest thing I ever saw was an AI video of Will, my business partner, and they made him like wink and point, and I just know Will, and he would never do that. Like, it was the cheesiest salesman looking thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, I mean, I still send it to him every couple of days and we laugh about it because it's just so not Will, but it's what AI thought Will as a realtor should be. And he's just such a good, loving heart, good-hearted man. Like, he'd never be like, you should buy a house. And so we just love making fun of it. But anyway, so I think AI is a tool that we can use to help us. And like, if I have really
Exactly.
weird comps, I will get it to tell me, what do you think this should be priced at? So I just, I love getting a second opinion on things, but I don't think that we should let it control the narrative, and I don't think we should let it determine who we should be. I think we should be who we are. And I feel like
Exactly. As human.
I've seen so many realtors go so AI heavy that I'm leaning more into becoming me, and it's a more positive experience for sure.
That's actually makes you unique, Tiffany. You're selling it
Yes.
very, very bright. Cool. I think this has been such a wonderful kind of I would say the conversation so far because we have talked about a lot of things, and I think that was probably the last question. But I want you, Tiffany, that tell us any advice right now for anyone that is listening, they're in your market, any buyers, sellers. Let us know what would be the last advice that you could give them.
Well, I think my most important advice I would say is to join a team. If you're a new realtor, do not try to learn this on your own. Like, you learn from every transaction's different. No transaction's the same because they all have a different buyer's agent, listing agent, seller, buyer, lender, and title person. And then there's an inspector and an appraiser. So that's 8 parties that are involved in every transaction, and all 8 of those are never the same people. So you can't do one transaction and think you've figured out how that works because they're all so unique, and you just never know. You're going to get a seller thrown in there at some point who hates the world and is going to make your life miserable. It just happens. So the more you can work with other people and see them go through these hardships, the quicker you learn, and the stronger your database is to pull from when you encounter these experiences, because real estate is just this never-ending mishmash of experiences, and you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out, like, how do I get the best part for my client while not offending all the other parties? And so the more you can be involved in, the more you can learn from others. So I think my biggest piece of advice is to don't try to do this alone. Get in some networking group, get in a team, just be where you can
Get a
discuss things with
coach.
other
Yeah,
people, and get a coach.
exactly.
When I started, I thought coaches were way too expensive and there was no way I could afford one. And now I can't imagine my life without one, because they really help you when you're bogged down and stuck in the thick of it.
Yeah.
They can see that overwhelming, the big panoramic view, and help you find the way out. So they're really,
Awesome.
can't recommend enough getting a coach, and just having a network of, even if it's not a coach, but a network of other agents who are willing to just talk through things with you. I'm on the Compass Young Professionals group, and on Monday our call tends to be about what our next event is, but we spend another 30 minutes just talking about how hard the market is and how we're all big producing agents in Houston and we're experiencing the exact same thing. And so it was just brainstorming ideas for all of us of how to, what can we do to be successful in this market? And that's just invaluable. Having
Thanks.
yourself a network of people who support you and want you to succeed is the most valuable thing you can do.
Tiffany, that's why I see you got so many positive reviews. Because you're super experienced. Whatever you say, like I can feel it. Like I believe me, I talk with a lot of agents. I don't say this to a lot of agents, but what I'm really hearing from you is pure experience, and I love that. I love that. No,
Thank you.
honestly, an honest compliment. So,
Thank you so
Tiffany,
much.
thank you so much for ladies and gentlemen. If you are in Houston, there is no doubt you want to sell or buy whatever, call, contact Tiffany. And how people can contact you, Tiffany, let them know.
So my website is whiteoakhou.com or just Tiffany Bean. If you type in Tiffany Bean Houston, if you type in Tiffany Bean, you're going to get the cute little breakfast Tiffany's necklace with the bean on it. But if you type in Tiffany Bean Realtor, you get me. So
Yeah, exactly.
that in and I'll
Awesome.
come everywhere.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I think this was one of my best conversation ever. We will have a quick chat after the podcast, but thank you again for joining the show. It was really a great conversation.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome.